So next we're going to have Steve Wald joining us. Steve is part of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. He's their Executive Director of Innovations in the Culinary Group. So he's coming to us from Colorado today and has already been on KTVO this morning, so he's had a short day, as you can imagine. He directs new product development efforts for the Beef Innovations Group. Wald grew up in Quincy, Illinois, and received a bachelor's degree in marketing from Illinois State University. He is a member of numerous associations, and his culinary passions include making barbecue, pizza, and the perfect prime rib, and seeking out great hamburgers nationwide. Just a note before we get started, if you guys enjoy today's talk, Steve will actually be presenting tomorrow morning at the Symposium at 10 a.m. And that will be titled The Why and What of Beef Innovation. But for today, he will be speaking for today's consumer, convenience, taste, and nutrition. So let's go ahead and welcome Steve to the front.
Thank you very much. When Margot mentioned seeking out great hamburgers nationwide, most of those were not 93% lean, I can almost guarantee you. Nor did they have avocado on it, but I think it's a great idea. Thank you for speaking about me and telling you about myself. I'm just going to add a little bit to that. As she said, I grew up in Quincy, Illinois, lived there for about 20 years, so not too far away from northeastern Missouri. I actually had some friends from my hometown come over to Kirksville to go to college here. And so I've kind of frequented this northeast area of Missouri quite frequently. We go fishing over here with my dad and so on. But I grew up not in the cattle business, but more in the food business. My dad worked for Kellogg's for a long time. I actually worked for Hy-Vee when I was younger. And then when I went to school, I worked for another company called Cub Foods, and then went into sales with a manufacturing company, then the industry consulting company, and then with National Cattlemen's Beef Association. So I've been around food pretty much all my life. And I'm going to get back to that in just a little bit, okay? Been around food all my life. I'm going to get back to that in a little bit. I'm going to tell you right now a little bit about the beef checkoff. Have you all heard of the beef checkoff and who we are and what we do and what it is? The beef checkoff is funded by beef producers nationwide, okay? So what that means is every time an animal is sold, so for instance here in the state of Missouri, if an animal is sold, $1 is collected from that sale. 50 cents stays in with Mark at the state level. 50 cents goes to a national program called the Cattlemen's Beef Board. The Cattlemen's Beef Board contracts with companies, or not companies, but organizations to conduct programs on their behalf that promote beef. And that includes research and product development and so on. Retail programs, beef safety research, nutrition programs. So that Cattlemen's Beef Board is also governed by the USDA. So the work that we do is governed by the USDA. I just realized that you probably had this pole in the way the whole time. And, so we're governed by the USDA. So all the work that we do has USDA approval and oversight that we have to go through. There are 45 state beef councils throughout the country. Hawaii has one, Alaska does not. I think Rhode Island's another one that does not, Connecticut, so there are a couple of smaller states that do not. But if you can picture this whole beef belt area right through here, this is including Missouri, that's where that beef basically is produced in the U.S., the majority, not all of it, the majority of it. So I think this is pretty interesting. So within the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, again, we're funded by the Beef Checkoff, that Cattlemen's Beef Board. National Cattlemen's Beef Association is a major contractor to the Cattlemen's Beef Board. The other major contractor is called U.S. Meat Export Federation, and they do work for the overseas markets like, well, Mexico and Canada, but China and the Asian markets, Korea and Japan and Russia and other places. Both in the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, I work in that area that Margot mentioned called the Beef Innovations Group. And what we are, we have a few staff members, but we're also with a group of meat scientists, food scientists, product developers, chefs, marketers, excuse me. packaging expert, plant operations, and so on. So we have this group of people, kind of an advisory board, but also help us work and plan and execute programs that we do on behalf of beef producers. So that leads my next slide. Why are we here? Okay. I'm used to having a slide advancer and I don't. So we have this family here. I want to back away so everyone can see them. Don't they look so nice? They're eating their cereal, having their juice, toast, and milk. Remember the cereal commercials a long time ago? Eat this cereal along with juice, toast, and milk. They're having, how many people's breakfasts look like this? Or your dinner tables, okay? This is maybe a little bit more realistic. You know, got a couple kids, they got hands and face dirty, and they're trying to feed the children and so on. This one, starting to get a little bit more hectic, but they're still doing good because they can read the newspaper and still have their kids around. This next slide is more what my life is like, okay? This, and I only have one kid, but this is what it's like in the morning for me, or it's like what it's like in the evening for me. So when I told you I grew up in the food business earlier, and I've been around food all my life, I lead the innovation areas for our organization, the culinary programs for our organizations, yet I have a hard time getting food on the dinner table during the weeknight. And that's like my job. And I struggle at it, just like probably most of the people here in the US. So that's why we're here, trying to help consumers figure out how to get beef on the dinner table, especially during that weeknight meal occasion. That's where chicken seems to have a little bit of an advantage for numerous reasons over beef. Not for taste and quality, but just for preparation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about innovation before I go too much further. And why innovate? Almost all, I say almost because I say that there's not a product that you can think of that hasn't gone through some sort of innovation. But there's someone always out there that tries to jab me on that. So I always put almost. Almost all products follow a life cycle curve. And you've probably seen this before. The introduction, it grows, goes through maturity, and then drops down, okay? So all products are like that. So if you guys are involved with businesses, and I know you guys probably a lot of independent nutrition work and so on, but think about that from your company itself, plus also either the companies you represent or even beef or other products. So why innovate? Keep the product, the brand, the company, the industry alive. Innovation must take place, but it has to be the right product, okay? Now, I bet most of you can guess what this is saying right here. There's a lot of big companies here that have gone through innovation, but it was not the right product. I don't know if you guys remember the purple ketchup, or they had blue ketchup and green ketchup too. They said it tasted exactly the same as regular red ketchup. I swear that it didn't. But they said it did. But it has to be the right product, okay? The National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the Beef Checkoff, we follow a product development process, and we make this type of process available to all the companies we work with, or companies we have it on our website, so people can just go to our website. And what this is a guide to helping companies or helping brand developers, product developers, create a product that's going to not guarantee a successful product, not guarantee it, but give them a better chance of succeeding. There's companies who go through this process. McDonald's, for instance, it could take them sometimes 3 or 4 years to go from an idea to launching the product. There's other companies that are decent-sized companies. I know some of the large packing companies, the large beef companies in the US, not all the big ones, but some of the big ones, they don't have anything like this, okay? There's other companies who are pretty sophisticated that don't do stuff like that. Granted, most of the large food manufacturers like ConAgra and Kraft, they're gonna have something like this. But we offer this to companies who may not have that expertise or ability. So, incorporating innovation into the life cycle. As I mentioned earlier, you saw that products typically go down here, but how do you get it to go back up? And that's by increasing innovation, okay? And bringing innovation back into the product or the brand that you have. Here's an example of one company, Special K, the original. My dad worked for Kellogg's, did I tell you that? He was in the food business, worked for Kellogg's a lot of years. Special K was one of their original cereals, if not the original. And they've done a good job of keeping that brand alive over the years. First of all, they expanded with other flavors. The red berries, the multigrain, the chocolatey, the protein, extra protein, individual cups, make it more convenient and so on. But they went beyond cereal and did other things to make that product have a longer shelf life, or I don't want to say shelf life, but a longer brand life. Nutrition bars, drinks, chips of various types, sandwiches, flatbreads that you can buy in a frozen food case. And there's others under that whole brand. So I think that's just a really good example of keeping that innovation alive so that product life cycle doesn't go down and end, but it kind of reinvents itself and goes back up again. Product innovation and helping the consumer. So again, when I had those slides up about the people running around and, me not being able to feed my child, it's not totally true, but it's a challenge. This is what I want to talk to you about. Consumers need help, okay? Did you guys know that? Consumers need help. Sometimes we in the industry, we take a lot of things for granted. So when I talk to people in the industry, I usually say to them, you're not the consumer, okay? Obviously you're consumers, but you are not the consumer. You know more than the consumer, okay? Give you an example. I think people sometimes have a tendency to take pride in the area of work that they do. I went into a carpet company, flooring carpet company where they sell carpet. I was talking to the guy and I was looking at buying some carpet, and he goes, "Why do you want to buy carpet?" I said, "Well, mine's got, pathways through it and all that kind of stuff." And he goes, "Well, don't you vacuum your carpet every day?" I go, "Vacuum my carpet every day? Are you kidding me? Heck no." Anyway, so you are not the consumer. I was not the consumer, the expert on carpet. Selecting beef. Other than popular steak cuts and ground beef, consumers do not feel confident selecting cuts for a specific purpose. They know steak and ground beef, but not the other. There's tons of other cuts. You go to a grocery store, there's many times 30 or 40 different cuts that they can buy, okay? Number 2, preparing beef. Outside of steaks and ground beef, most consumers are not knowledgeable of preparation. I think you had mentioned that earlier. Not knowledgeable of how to prepare the various products. What do consumers really want? I'm going to do a couple of these slide advances. Fresh foods are best for taste and nutrition. Now, these are what consumers are really saying. This is what they think. Fresh foods are best for taste and nutrition. Prefer to cook with fresh ingredients instead of convenience foods. That's what they prefer. Like to prepare a real meal every evening. They like to quickly cook a real meal with the same speed, ease, and results of convenience foods. But they just have a hard time pulling all. I'm trying to stay within this cord here, so that's why I'm kind of, they have a hard time pulling all this together on a weekly night. But they want to feel involved. They want to be adding something to it. They don't want to be doing all this convenience food. Who's ever heard of the Betty Crocker or Pillsbury cake example with consumers? Cake mixes. I'll tell you what it is. It sounds like you know it. But a long time ago, they were trying to make baking cakes more easy for consumers, or easier. So they developed a cake mix, kind of like today where they have these pancake mixes where you just add water, okay? Super easy, made a great cake, but people quit buying it. The reason was because consumers, when they're baking a cake, they want to feel involved with it. That's part of, their life or whatever. They want to make it personal. So they had to take out the egg, take out the oil or whatever, and now you have to add your egg and add your oil back into it and maybe water and whatever else. But all because consumers have that attachment to wanting to cook. They want to use fresh foods. They don't want convenience foods if they don't have to. So our solution, so the beef industry's solution to this is a program we call Convenient Fresh Beef. Our goal is to make fixing dinner at home better than going out and making it very easy for consumers. Simple to plan, 30 minutes, fast, easy to prepare, simple to clean up, and delicious and nutritious to eat. The simple to clean up is bigger than I ever thought, okay? Much bigger than I ever thought in terms of how important that is to consumers. Cooking raw, fresh beef. Does that sound good to y'all? Okay. How about cooking raw, fresh beef in the microwave? What if you could what if I said, but I could give you a good product? Would you do it? No? Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the things we've been working on is trying to make the preparation process for beef a lot easier. And one of them is using the microwave, okay? So who here is a good cook? Okay, I saw some good cook hands. Okay, so all of you who raise your hands that are good cooks, now I want to know who's a bad cook. Bad cook? Really? Are you the only bad cook in here? Is there anyone else? No one else? Okay, Miss Bad Cook. This is a tri-tip roast, a picture of it that was cooked in the microwave. And I have a roast that we can cook today, but I need your help. Can you do that with me? Come with me. I'll be back. Okay, we'll use this microwave right here. Okay. This is a 2.08 pound roast, so this is about 2 pounds. So a 2 pound roast and I think this is a 50 watt oven. Cooks for 18 to 19 minutes, okay? Okay. So we'll set it in there, go ahead and close the door. Cook time, 18 minutes. And it said power level as well, 50% power. So hit power level, 5, and enter. Start. Yeah. Okay, and what's your name?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, okay, great, thank you. Okay, Chelsea is helping us out with some pre-lunch food, I think. I don't know. So usually this works, we'll see. Sorry, one more thing. I'm gonna pass this package around so you guys can see. That is it. So you can take a look at it. So this is a culotte. Who's ever heard of a culotte? Okay. Anyone else? It is, that it is. So a culotte, also known as a sirloin cap, is the top. If you ever see like the old time, you have the sirloin steaks. It's kind of that crescent moon muscle that goes across the top. That's a cap. That's the sirloin cap, or also known as the culotte. In Brazil, in those South American steak houses, that's the muscle that they use that they put on those big skewers and they slice off. That's what Chelsea is cooking for us right now, okay? Next, well, before I go off of that, you can't do this in a microwave. You can't cook it just anything in a microwave. There's a lot of technology that goes into it. You have to have the right bag. You have to have the right seasoning. You have to have the right cut. And I'll tell you why. Because the way the microwave cooks, if you just put let's say a piece of sirloin that's real lean and put it in there, you're gonna get something that's not that good. So if you cook beef in the microwave, what is your impression of cooking? What's that meat gonna be like when you cook it in the microwave? Okay, Chelsea? Leathery? Yes? Tough and lack of flavor? That's, yeah. Okay, who else? Pretty color?
Well, and uneven cooking.
Uneven cooking? When I first thought about this, I was thinking, it's going to be burnt over here. It's going to be raw over here. It's going to be gray. It's going to be dry and all that stuff, okay? So we're going to just see how good of a cook or how bad of a cook Chelsea really is, all right? Don't worry, I'll drop it after a while. Next, I'll come back here in a second. Next, we're doing the same thing with ground beef, okay? I'm gonna take that. So ground beef, we found that about 50% of consumers think ground beef is the easiest thing there is to cook, okay? The second 50%, the other 50% of consumers say it's a mess because they have to cook it in the pan, they get spray, they have that grease that they have to deal with afterwards, all that kind of stuff. I'm mixed because, you know, when I saw that grease at the bottom of a pan, I always thought that was an excuse for me to go out to the garage and get a can of beer and drink it real quick. Have a place to put it. But in all seriousness, so we have regular ground beef. It's, it works best probably 85%. You get too high, not so much. But I will say one thing. So what happens is you cook this ground beef in the microwave according to the instructions. And if you look on the back, you'll see the package when it comes around. This is a drain bag down here, okay? So you lay it in there, it cooks, then you pick it up, and all the grease and oils drain to the bottom down here. Now, the one thing I have experienced with this, and I don't think it works great with, you know, in the 90% lean, but usually if you cook 90% lean in a skillet, you don't get a lot of drainage, you know? If you cook this in a microwave at 90% level, 92%, you still get oils and stuff in the bottom. Anyway, with that said, is there anyone else who would be interested in cooking one of these for me?
I'll do it.
Excellent. What's your name? Deanne. Okay. You want to come with me?
Sure.
We're going to find out. That's right. Okay, what we do, we cook these on 50% power. So we just have the instructions right here. Whoops. We're going to pretend it's 1100 watt. I think it is. So 8 minutes. 8 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, not 50% power, just regular.
Oh. Is it plugged in?
Time cook. Oh. Great. Thank you. Deanne, right? Deanne. Okay. Deanne is doing a great job. She has already started the next meal, or a component of something else. I wouldn't say it's a meal. I got ahead of myself a little bit. So this is the microwavable ground beef. Now, what we're thinking of, we've made patties before, okay? Just microwave a whole patty. But the idea behind this is more of, you have this ground beef, you don't mess up a skillet. Well, kind of would it anyway. But you're saving a lot of mess, and you just take that drain bag, which is, you get the hamburger out of it, and just throw that away, okay? But the idea behind this, again, is you dump it into a skillet or a bowl, add your taco seasoning, or add your spaghetti sauce, or beef stroganoff sauce, or whatever you want to do to it, or just eat it as is. Who knows what a Maid-Rite is? Okay. Have your own Maid-Rite sandwich. There were 2 Maid-Rites that opened up in Denver, Colorado by beef, but they didn't make it, just so you know. It's kind of a bummer. Anyway, so cook that for 7 minutes, and we're going to taste that a little bit later and see what it's like.
What's the cost difference in this as opposed to just buying it fresh?
Good question. Typically, we've found, and number one, this is not in the market yet. Yeah. There is a product similar to this, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. It's my next slide right here. This right here is in the market. This is a company out in North Carolina called Lowe's Supermarkets, not to be confused with the building materials company. They did a taco nacho version, but they added seasoned beef and pork. So they added some other ingredients into it. So there's like some filler stuff. I don't recall what the price is on this, but we've talked to manufacturers and they figure about 50 cents to $1 more per pound for the convenience aspect of it. And most consumers though, because we've tested with all these products with consumers, they're willing to pay about $1 more per pound typically for the convenience of this type of stuff. Yes?
How are you addressing the concern that chemicals from the lab
About 10% of consumers bring up that issue. There's about 10% of consumers who say, it's a great idea, but I don't think I'm going to do it because it's cooked in a plastic bag. It's hard to convince that type of consumer that it's okay, but all these bags are approved by the FDA, USDA. The company that's making this product, this bag for us, is the company that introduced the bird's eye frozen vegetables into the frozen food case. That's where we kind of started thinking about how can we take that idea, that technology, incorporate it into beef. So it's the same process, they're using the same layers. It's a multi-layer bag. So anything that would be objectionable is trapped in a layer that cannot get through. Does that make you feel any better? Is it the microwave or is it just the bag itself? Mm-hmm. And because of other stuff? Yeah. Yeah. So let me tell you a quick story then. When I was a kid, I was a Boy Scout, okay? And I was with a friend of mine. We were at this expo doing stuff. I was taking a friend home and we were going to eat lunch. I said, we're just going to cook up a couple hot dogs in a microwave. And he goes, wow, my mom, she doesn't want me to cook or eat out of a microwave. I said, why? And she said that you can get cataracts from eating out of the microwave. I said, what? Are you serious? We were 12 years old, and that was a long time ago. And he said, oh, but it takes a long, long time. I go, well, how long? He goes, well, about 5 years of eating in the microwave. You know, again, we're 12 years old. I said, well, I'll just quit after 4. I don't know if you thought that was funny or not. Not too many people do. So, again, fresh ground beef with pork in the microwave, good product. So we're testing that. We're going to be putting into a test market, not yet, but test market hopefully after the first of the year. So we'll find out what consumers really think. Now, we're going down another path as well. This is called 3-in-1 starter kits. So what we've done is taken lean beef, okay? It doesn't have to be any certain cut, but it has to be a cut that performs for the product. So what I'm saying is if you put an eye of round steak cut into thin strips in that, it's probably not going to work because it's going to be too dry and too tough. But if you put a piece of chuck steak or a bottom sirloin or something in there, it probably will. The idea behind this is that you have one package of product, you have a seasoning packet here, you have this label, which I don't know if it tells you a whole lot, but you can make 3 different things out of this, okay? Now there are a few extra ingredients you have to buy, but the base ingredient, the base spice pack allows you to make number 1, a beef stew, number 2, beef and peppers, number 3, beef stroganoff. So typically things that people typically like. I think this is the slide that shows the back side, yes. So on the back of the package, and this is just a prototype, so don't think this is exactly what it would look like. It says, for example, beef stroganoff, what you'll need. Beef strips included, seasoning packet included. So this is what you have to either buy or have. 1.5 cups of water, 1/4 cup sour cream, tablespoon of olive oil, 8-ounce canned, jarred, or fresh mushrooms drained, egg noodles, Worcestershire sauce, salt, and pepper. So what we've tried to do is make these recipes really easy, super easy, and stuff that people typically either have on hand or that they could easily get or typically have or would use up. We don't want people to have to go out and buy a jar of margarine or something that they're going to use once a year, okay, anything like that. We want to make it pretty common stuff. When we tested with this consumers, they seem to really, really like it. So we have these in hot sandwiches. Again, these 3-in-1 kits for making hot sandwiches. We have numerous different versions of this, but this one here is classic American. So we have cheesesteak, mushroom and Swiss, and barbecue beef, or the European classic, Italian, Greek, and pizza. So a couple different versions of sandwiches that consumers could make along with this.
We just marketed this in Springfield,
Yeah, in Missouri.
and it was very well received in the price cutter chain down there.
And actually, a lot of the initial consumer research was done here in Missouri as well, with focus groups with consumers. Just to back up real quick, this 3-in-1 starter kits with these fresh pieces of meat, we've done cubes, we've done cube steak, we've done beef strips. So you can do with a lot of different things. So we've made them for different things as well. Chelsea,
Yeah.
how's our food coming? Well, what? That's, yeah, okay. Yours is done? No, just stay here, yeah. After it gets done cooking, we have to let it sit for about 15 minutes anyway. So we're just gonna let it sit and kind of come to temp and all that. Because right now, when your bell goes off, it's gonna be at about 120 degrees. But it's gonna continue to rise as it sits in that bag for about 15 minutes, okay? We're just gonna leave it in there, okay? Yeah. Yeah. And for yours, I mean, we could probably take it out right now, but we'll just let it sit there for a while anyway. Okay?
I did look at it on the way back.
How was it looking?
Something smells good, so I don't know whether it's yours or his.
I think it's mine.
It's yours.
I don't know. I'm sure his is good too. Okay, here's what I was just talking about. The 3-in-1 kits for the skillet meals, we have the 3-way beef strip kit, the 3-way cube steak kit, so we have Swiss, Cajun, and Mexican, and the cube kit, I meant to say, the cube little, like, almost stew pieces, but cubes, and the cube steak, Dijonnaise, Salisbury, and Italian. So,
Shelf life or refrigerator life on most of it.
okay, yeah, great question. Shelf life would be the same as fresh meat that you buy in a grocery store, so probably 3 to 4 days, if they make it in their store, okay? Most likely what would happen is this would come in from a company that has made it in a plant someplace. And when I say a plant, it's, well, it is a plant, I guess, but it's not bad. It's just, it's where they process meat, they tray it up, kind of like what Walmart does. A lot of the grocery stores are doing it these days. They just tray it up, but they put a film over across the top and vacuum seal it. That seals out the oxygen. So if you ever go to the store and you see these big packages, they call them vacuum packaged.
Yes.
All they're doing, that's how all beef is sold that goes to the grocery store or to the plants. It's called wet aging. Whoever's ever heard of that term, wet aging? That's what's happening when that package is sitting there. So if you see meat, some stores are now starting to put meat, actual individual cuts, into multi-vac or vacuum packaged packages, individual steaks. They're just wet aging it. It's actually fresher in that package than it is wrapped up in the tray wrap where it's nice and bright red. It's actually fresher to have it in those individual vacuum packages. Other things that we can do. We have weekday steaks and roast in under 20 minutes. Whoever's heard of a flat iron steak? Okay. So one of the things that we've done is try to get consumers to think about a steak not just on the grill, but also a steak that you can have that you can cook on the stovetop. And what we did with this is no big deal. We just added a spice packet to it, to a steak that you could typically buy in the store. So we tested it with consumers, again, in Springfield, Missouri. And we had consumers sitting there, and we had the spice packet, and I was listening to the consumer. I wasn't the moderator, I was just listening to them. It was really fascinating. And the moderator said, she said, oh, I really like this because it has that seasoning packet. He goes, well, what's the big deal with the seasoning packet? She goes, I don't know. As a matter of fact, I think I had that same spice in my cabinet. Well, if you have the same spice in the cabinet, why do you care if it's on the pack, in that little package? She goes, you know, I just don't have to think about it. It's there. I don't have to go into my cabinet. I don't have to search through my cabinet. I don't have to figure out what to put on it, how much to put on it. It's there. I don't have to think about it. And that was really interesting to me from a product development person. Very interesting. The next one is, we also have the petite tender. Who has ever heard of a petite tender steak? Okay. It's a very good product. It's almost like a small tenderloin. They're about that big, about 12 ounces a piece or so. So, the idea behind this program, and we talked earlier about consumers wanting the idea of convenience, but they also want it fresh. They like to do a little customization to it. This is what it is. It's fresh meat, but it's just more convenient. We have simple packaging, simple sleeves. This is geared more toward the retail, but I wanted to include it in here. Packaged for multiple products. You can make it in a plant or in the store as well.
We've even frozen packages at the office and brought them back out.
Yeah.
A month later and they're still great.
Sure.
So you can definitely freeze it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears before we go try some product and eat your lunch. How are we looking for time? Am I behind or 15 minutes? Okay. So the slow cooker. You can see I have a slow cooker sitting over there. I wonder if it's in their way. Who uses a slow cooker? A lot? What do you guys make in it?
I sear like roast first. It's a ninja. So I sear the roast. I did a pork loin last night, in fact. It was already marinated. Seared it first and then let it cook slow for most of the day.
What about some of you other people?
Sometimes casserole.
Chili, roast, casseroles.
I'll do like chicken breast and I get them shredded and top with seasoning water.
Sure. Okay.
Chicken noodle.
Chicken noodles. You ever heard of doing oatmeal in them?
Yes, I've done that.
I got that at a restaurant. At a breakfast place where it was really good. Okay. Well, here's what I'm thinking. So, is slow cooker convenient? Is it? So my question is, can it be more convenient? A liner? What's that do? What's the plastic liner do for you?
Whenever it simmers, like my chili, then after you eat it, then you throw away the bag and you don't have to wash it.
All right, I like it.
My sister doesn't like it.
Okay, so a next set of questions. Thinking about pot roast and the millennial, okay? Does pot roast fit into the millennial's lifestyle? Probably. Okay. Too much food? Is the name pot roast current and hip? Does it resonate with them? I don't know. And I'm kind of serious about these questions. I'm curious because I don't know the answers, but I have an idea. What are millennials making in the crock pot, the slow cooker? Oatmeal?
I mean, I feel like with Pinterest, like I make the only thing that I do cook is in a crock pot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's all stuff that I get off Pinterest or the internet or different recipes, like casseroles. It's like basically anything that I can put in there that's it. Like I put my vegetables, fruit, whatever we're having all in that one pot and go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese is a good one for my young daughter.
Mac and cheese. Interesting. And then lastly, are there opportunities to make the beef? I can't read it. Are there opportunities for the beef industry to make the slow cooker more relevant to our target market? When I say our target market, the beef industry is really trying to focus on that millennial generation, not to exclude others, but to focus on them because of the up and coming consumers and because they also have a lot of young children who can be influenced as well. So introducing the slow cooker roast. I'm going to pass this around. If you want to go ahead and pass that, whoa,
Yep.
pass that around. So we tested 2 different products with consumers. The one we're testing around is the one that scored the highest. It's a chuck roast. From a nutritionist standpoint, RD standpoint, it's probably not your favorite because there's probably a little bit more fat in here than some, but it's fat that you can pull away from it. I'm just going to go through some of the research. The other product we tested, so we tested chuck roast. The other one we tested was an arm roast. Arm roast by nature are a little bit leaner, but also probably a little bit drier. Consumers like both of them pretty darn well though. Were consumers happy with the meals they made? So what we asked them to do was take this home, put it in their crock pot, and make a meal out of it, okay? So this is what we've asked. Were they happy with the meals that they made? Consumers were happy with the meals they made. Top 2 box using the roast. Something's missing here, I apologize. I don't know.
That's
We'll
right,
just,
I think, because the next number is just the top box. So,
oh yeah, you're right. Top box, you're right. But anyway, top 2 box, 98%, 96% for the chuck roast, 88% for the arm roast. Top box, thanks Mark, 43% and 35%. So very good scores, okay? What they made with this, okay? Going back to my thoughts about the millennial and consumers and is the crock pot convenient or slow cooker convenient? I was thinking, okay, are people buying this type of product that we need, that the beef industry needs to move, that is really good, but are they buying it and making pot roast out of it? Because that's what typically it is. And my thought was, how can we make this product, that muscle, more relevant and hip to today's consumer, okay? So we gave them a few ideas, but this is what they ended up making. They made some sandwiches, they made entrees, so typical pot roast type stuff with mashed potatoes and sides, and they made Mexican food. But the real idea behind this was, let's take that, put that muscle in a bag, put it into the crock pot. They take it out of the crock pot, and they're ready to make sandwiches and Mexican food. And the thinking behind this is, okay, if you tell a consumer we're gonna have pot roast tonight, if you tell a millennial we're gonna have pot roast tonight, is it gonna resonate with them? But if we say to a consumer, let's go to Qdoba, or what's the other one, Chipotle, and have their burrito with shredded beef, what's that? It's pretty much braised beef. It might not be a chuck roast, might not be an arm roast, but it's braised beef. So it's pretty much the same thing. We're thinking, if there's something that they're familiar with, can we get them to think about this muscle in a different way and do some new things and different things with it? That's why we're talking about the sandwiches. Potential for a new easy dinner staple. Hits a home run on ease and convenience. Ease of meat preparation, very good. Ease of meat cleanup, very good. So in the focus group, they asked the consumer, what is the one, I was sitting there, I said to the focus group moderator, he comes in and asks me, what else you want to ask? I said, ask him what is the most important thing about this product. And I thought they were going to go back in there and say, whoever thought of this idea is a genius, and he should make millions of dollars. They didn't say that. What they said was, this product is easy to clean up. And as I said earlier about cleanup, they said this product is easy to clean up. That's one of the most important things about this product. Anticipated frequency of use. There's no way they're going to buy this 1 to 4 times plus per month. But the fact that they think that is a good. These numbers are huge. Those are just huge numbers. The overall liking scores for this, we test products on a 1 to 9 scale for their overall liking of score, or of like taste and juiciness and so on. 1 to 9 scale. Typically, if you get a low 7, it would be good, okay? I'm trying to think of the example. I can't remember what it was. There was like a standard product that everyone would know that would be like a 7.2. This scored over an 8. Both of those cuts, whether it was a chuck roast, which has more fat, or the leaner version of arm roast. Very good scores. I'm going to go ahead and, I think I need to move this anyway, probably. I'm going to bring this over here. Pardon me? Yeah. Mark, I'm going to take up some space right here. Okay. So now, number one, I was given this crock pot to use, the slow cooker to use, and I didn't want to mess it up, and they gave me a bag liner, so I went ahead and used it. But this is designed where you don't use a bag liner, okay? You cook it in here. You don't add any water to it. Well, you add maybe a quarter cup or so to the bottom of it. You don't have to worry about dicing potatoes. You don't have to worry about doing anything to it in the morning. This product cooks in its own bag, cooks in its own juices, okay? It's pre-seasoned, but with a mild seasoning, so it'll taste good to eat it by itself, or you can add your other flavors that you want to do. You can make beef and noodles, you can make burritos and pasta dishes and whatever. Now you'll notice on the bottom here is the drain bag, okay? So there's people who want to take those juices and make gravy out of it. I probably would half the time at least. But there's other consumers who would say, nope, I'm going to make sandwiches. That's just the mess for me. I'm going to trap that part and I'm going to throw it away, okay? Because it doesn't have a use for them. Or, you know, I don't know what else I could say about it.
You could make a beef stock. You could make a
They
beef
could,
stew.
yeah, they could make a beef stock.
How long did it take to cook it?
Well, I overcooked it. I put it on at 8 o'clock last night because I knew I had to be up this morning. I cooked it till probably 9 o'clock this morning, so it was in there 12. It needs to cook about between 8 and 10. This is going to be softer, maybe. Maybe not. That should be. So we'll taste it, though. So you guys will be able to see if it's any good or not. Mark, would you do me a favor?
Yep.
This right here, cut this open and keep this drain up.
Right.
And then just go ahead and let it fall out on the, and this is a one-person job, but I want to have some inclusion and just go straight down.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So for anyone who wants to taste that by itself, we're going to do that as soon as I'm done here, and I'm almost done. That I'm just going to leave there just for what we're trying to do here. But yeah, you can easily make that into gravy and so on. Huge hit with consumers, very huge hit with consumers. Hopefully we'll be into a market test after the first of the year.
About what would the price be on that? Rough ballpark.
Of which one, I'm sorry? Again, probably about 50 cents to $1 more than you would buy it at a regular price, okay? So if it's on sale, say it's at $4.99 a pound, you might pay $5.99 a pound to have it packaged, seasoned, and put into that bag, okay?
That's about a 3-pound roast, maybe.
Yeah, but you know, I wouldn't look so much at the size of the roast right now because we can make bigger ones, we can make smaller ones, just depending on what we want to do. Last one is schmaken, and here it is right here. I didn't come up with the name, by the way, but a lot of people really ask me, 50% of people ask me, what's that name? A lot of people say, oh, I love that name. Anyway, this is a product that's going into Hy-Vee stores. Not all of them have it yet. This is a company that we've worked with now for 3 years on developing what they call beef's answer to bacon, schmaken, beef's answer to bacon. They don't want to call it beef bacon because then you have to there's other labeling constraints. This won the 2014 NRA New Product Award for product introduction. This is going out nationally. They're going region by region, but they're slowly getting more distribution, more distribution. So I'm going to pass this around, but again, it's part of the plate than some other proprietary. It's a different way of cutting the animal than usual, but it's a beef plate.
So is there less fat if you're cutting it in a different place? Or what's the difference?
Number one, it's beef. Number two, it's seasoning, the flavor profile. Number three is the nutritional profile. Number four, we were talking earlier about the IARC and stuff like that. This has no added nitrates or nitrites, okay? So looking at the nutritional profile, and that's why I bought a package of Oscar Mayer bacon, so you guys can compare side by side. And I just picked Oscar Mayer because it's a big national brand. There was no other reason for that. I didn't go looking at all the nutritionals, finding the one that was going to be the best for me. But I want you to look at the backside, compare nutritionals. Serving size is different. This is 30 grams per serving. This one is 19 grams per serving. So you have to do a little bit of calculation in your head to do side-by-side comparisons. But I'm just going to hand it out. It's a pre-cooked product.